African universities can coordinate these efforts into a continent-wide strategy that both elevates their global standing and also ensures that there is evidence-driven policy making happening. So to join us here in a studio to discuss that is Professor Patrick Okori, who is the Executive Secretary of RUFORUM, delegate of regional delegate, also a regional delegate at the forum, and higher education policy. This is your portfolio. Am I correct there, sir?
Thank you very much for having me. That's correct.
Good afternoon. Thank you for coming through.
Thank you.
Right. So just a quick background, and we don't want to dwell on it, is yes, we have this meeting that is happening here in Gaborone. It has the themes as we're mentioning there. But then I want to perhaps distinguish between this theme and perhaps what the organization stands for, the main pillars that you're focusing on as an organization. Yeah.
So thank you very much for your question. RUFORUM is an African-led initiative created by African universities about 20 years ago to do three things. One of them was to build capacity of African universities to build a human capital for their countries. Two was to generate science solutions for development. And three was to influence policy, to generate the evidence that our policymakers can use for designing investments for our country to grow the economy.
Yeah. Oftentimes there is that separation. There is the institutions of higher learning, and then there is a society. But one wants to believe that these institutions are integrated or service society generally as institutions of learning, where the research and so on and so forth are housed. I want you to speak to that. It's just the role of academia to society generally.
So universities have been evolving over time, and they are in 4 generations. So the first generation of universities, which are hundreds of years old, focused mostly on teaching. They were imparting knowledge. And soon it became obvious that teaching alone was not enough. So the second generation of universities came on the scene. They focused on teaching and research to create solutions. So research is about creating solutions. Then they found doing research alone wasn't enough, so they went to the third generation of universities, which was to teach, do research or generate solutions, and take these solutions to community. So that gave you most of what we have today. They are called third generation universities. But then it became obvious, especially in the most recent past, that universities have a role to drive development. And so now we have something called fourth generation universities. So fourth generation universities, of which many of our universities in Africa are struggling to transition into, requires that you work intensively with communities, understand what their needs are, and create solutions that drive not just the local development, but national and regional economic development. That's a fourth generation university.
Okay, so let's talk to just that. Perhaps is what the forum is coming together to chew on. Is where does that seem? Where is the challenge? Where do you find the challenge is to transition smoothly into a fourth generation? It's just operationalizing academia. I want to call it that. Yeah.
Yeah. So operationalizing that requires a few things to be put in place. The first one is that you need a very open engagement policy or system that allows you to work with others. And that means you recognize knowledge is generated not just in the university, it is everywhere. So you use society together with what you generate to solve problems.
What others, just as an example,
for example, our mothers and fathers in the village have been doing agriculture for ages. They know some things that we do not necessarily know. The old system assumes they have nothing, they're empty, let's go teach them. But there are some things that they know that can help us to actually solve problems. Many of the diseases we suffer from, they knew them, and they used to treat them, only they called them differently. So my argument is a rose by any name is still a rose. So knowledge is knowledge, irrespective of where it comes from. So that's one. The second thing that they have to do is then to put in place the partnerships for how they are going to do that, then that means that you have to work beyond one place. Knowledge is generated in different places, and so this is where RUFORUM comes in. To solve a problem in Botswana, you might need to work with somebody in Namibia, another person in South Africa, etc., to solve. So partnerships.
Yeah.
And then thirdly, and more importantly, you must be able to learn from what you're doing. You're going to make mistakes, you're going to succeed. So you keep on improving. And last but not least, now you get this, put it and inform the governments or policy on what they need to do to drive development. And you keep learning together with government. That's how you change society.
Right. Okay, so I want to find out then how it is that we're faring out, because Africa and the integration on the economic front and so on, we have all sorts of organs that are, trying to bring this integration together. So how is the RUFORUM then trying to effect this partnership, this continental partnerships, and how has that fared out so far?
And so RUFORUM operates at continental level, but we also work at national level. At national level, we work with our member universities. So like the conference we're having here is hosted by the government of Botswana through BUAN.
Yeah.
Now that helps, that's where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah.
So how do we connect all this? So in a meeting that we have been having, we have topical areas that we generate. And where it is a policy matter, we bring together ministers and present this to them. We also work through the African Union, and that gets now to be taken over at the continental level. But there are issues that sometimes are global through the African Union and other actors. We work with them to escalate them and generate the investments that are necessary to solve the problem as a contribution.
How swift or what are the challenges therein?
Well, the challenges, in everything there is a challenge. One of the challenges that you have is people are so impatient. Research and development is growth. It is not an event. And so people have to understand that we've got to learn, we'll make mistakes, but we'll stand up and walk someday. And so we are very impatient many times. Number two, we don't capture the right type of informations. And this is where the problem is. The information is too little to make a decision.
Okay, so the topical or sectors of interest then for RUFORUM, is it strictly agriculture or just how broad?
It is agriculture and related systems, because in 2021, the United Nations came together and began to talk about how we produce food, how we take food from the garden all the way to your plate. It's called agri-food systems. And that means now we talk about food, we talk about nutrition, we talk about environment, we talk about health. We wrap up all of this in what we do as our mission, agri-food systems.
Let's talk about this year's theme and perhaps what necessitated it. That would give us an indication as to where we are as a continent, yes. So
at the end of last year, or thereabout, Africa began working on another 10 years of addressing the problem of food insecurity in Africa. We import a lot of food, hundreds of millions of dollars. And so it's called a Comprehensive Africa Agriculture Development Program, or CAADP. And the CAADP is renewed every 10 years, and it was obvious we were not going to meet those targets because we are still importing food, and people still go to bed hungry. And so our argument was then that we need to rethink. So the CAADP has been refreshed in January this year. It's called the Kampala Declaration, where Africa committed itself to delivering food on the plate for its people and food on the plate of others around the world sustainably. The theme of this year is really, the whole new phase is about accelerating growth. And so the theme was designed of the conference to mobilize African universities, this time to begin moving as fourth-generation universities to cause that acceleration in the agri-food system we have talked about.
Okay. When you hear the numbers, it's staggering. When you hear the numbers in percentages of just how much the resource of land Africa has at her disposal. I don't remember the exact figure, but it's a very impressive number. I think it's in the 60s.
It is 60% of the remaining land on the world to feed people is in Africa.
Absolutely. And then Perhaps how is it that we are optimizing? What are perhaps some of the areas or thoughts that Africa should be engaging to optimize this? I know that technology and mechanization are things that have been added on, that agriculture has taken to. Let me just hear where the conversation is around the optimization of fruitfulness of the resource that Africa has.
So, and that's what we call productivity.
Productivity, yes.
Yes, so that's your output per unit of your input you put in. Now, in the case of Africa, we don't want to take, this is where RUFORUM is coming in. Yeah. The rest of the world grew and began to feed themselves using systems that also destroy the environment.
Ah, yes.
And so Africa, with our 60% land, some of it is quite fragile land. We cannot afford to begin expanding our agriculture without thinking about the consequences because they are long-term. And so what we are talking about is using science, technology, and innovations to sustainably, the key word is sustainably grow Africa's agriculture to feed its people, to create wealth and jobs, especially for women and youth, and unserved there are many underserved populations. Yeah. We want to have an inclusive growth.
Okay. So unfortunately, this is all the time that I have. So I want to find out just about the details of the forum when it closes, if there's still any that one can catch up with remaining. Yeah.
Well, it closes tomorrow. Today we have spent time discussing different themes, including productivity, including technology like artificial intelligence. Yeah. We are also discussing policy. And right now, as I'm talking in the afternoon, we're going to be talking about skilling our young people. They make 60% of our population. Absolutely. And tomorrow we will close it up with a big bang, and I thank the people of Botswana for really being very good people. I'm told you have the best beef in the world. Thank you.
It is actually. Thank you so much, Professor. We're speaking here with Professor Patrick Okori. Professor Okori is coming from RUFORUM, and RUFORUM is this forum that has brought African experts together, primarily around agriculture and all other systems around it. At the end of the day, the food security is about security, is about human dignity when you look at even value chains and the job creations therein. So this conference, this forum will close tomorrow. Botswana Connects closes now. At the top of the hour, 2 p.m., then Olivide Samoka picks you up on In Context. Have a good afternoon.